Yeah, those guys are still pretty good. Back here on MLB Now, Brian Kenny with Ken Rosenthal, Mike Lowell, and Jody McDonald. Why are K-Rod and Soriano still out there, Ken?
Well, because their agent is Scott Boras, and Scott Boras likes to get the best deals possible. He believes this is the time of year for relievers to get it done. At the same time, these pitchers have warts on them, and that's why they're not getting the money that maybe you would expect. K-Rod last year, pretty good year, save percentage-wise, but of course you don't like that.
No, I'm good on that.
14 home runs in 68 innings is not something to like.
Yeah.
Soriano was having an amazing first half, had an amazing first half, then kind of wore down in the second. Maybe he was overused and lost the closer's role. So what's interesting to me is these guys are established relievers with good track records, and yet I don't know that they'll do as well as the Gregersons and the Nesheks of the world. Even Zach Duke got 3 years, $15 million. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. There are still teams that need late inning help. Toronto is one, Milwaukee is another, Miami is interested in these pitchers, and maybe even the Nationals. They might want a late inning guy as well.
I think there's still something left for these guys. Right, I think it comes down to price. Like, you might love them at $7 million a year. Maybe you don't love them at, I don't know, about $11 million. And that, it seems like that proven closer thing isn't working its magic on the market anymore.
No, it's been a while since it has. And the Papelbon contract, even at the time it was signed, was such an aberration because at that point, closers were no longer getting paid except for one guy, Mr. Rivera, like they once did.
At least Papelbon was great. Papelbon was.
It has been good during the contract.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Your thoughts on that, Jody?
And the other thing that people like to forget about when they criticize the Papelbon contract, Phillies paid Brad Lidge the same exact money. Now, he had the great season, unbelievable 2008. The contract went on. Brad didn't. Injuries, ineffectiveness, and the like. So they were used to paying a closer $12 million in Philly. They did it for years. Before Papelbon, they picked it up with Papelbon. And Papelbon has lived up to the contract. It's been his fit and his mix with the team that has been as big a problem as the fact that he's lost 3 or 4 miles an hour off the fastball.
Yeah, and he's kind of wasted on that club now, right? They've finally gotten around to rebuilding. Would you want that contract if you're another GM? I mean, because I'm thinking I might. I don't care what he's like in the clubhouse. I want the performance.
It depends on how much the Phillies are going to be willing to eat. Because the Phillies have already gone on record that they will pay part of Papelbon's contract. Mike and I were talking about it in a pre-show meeting. The key is that second year. He's got that second
vesting
option, which could be a killer.
Is that game's finished, right?
It's game's finished.
Put him in the 7th and 8th inning.
And invite a grievance and unhappiness.
Oh, a grievance, whatever. He's a relief ace. You don't have to use him as a closer. The Phillies aren't known for their innovative.
Actually, Ryan, come to spring training with me next week, and let's go to Jonathan Papelbon's locker, and you can explain to him how he's just as valuable in the 7th inning as the 9th.
Well, more valuable, actually. But Ken Giles is actually a better pitcher, isn't he, at this point?
They think he is, and that's why they're willing to move Papelbon, because they want to get Giles into that closer role as soon as possible. No, Papelbon's going to want to close. Wherever he's going to go.
Yeah, no, because it's costing him money. Of course he'd hate on me if I said that to him. It's costing him money.
Well, I'm curious to see if K-Rod and Soriano kind of fall into that mold, because I think a team like the Marlins would love K-Rod to be the 8th inning guy, but maybe he doesn't want to go to Miami to be the 8th inning guy. He'd rather go somewhere else to be the 9th inning guy.
But the thought always was, and this makes sense, that I'm only going to maximize my earnings by being in the 9th inning. Now that that's sort of not the case, because all these GMs and assistant GMs understand, we're paying you to get outs. And a lot of times the higher leverage outs are in the 7th and 8th inning. So if the money's the same, I don't think players care.
I think a guy like K-Rod, the track record's there. I think there are milestones that he wants to reach. I mean, it's the 300. When you get to the 300, 400, I've been the closer and I don't want to give it up.
Yeah, it's amazing how the Save and Jerome Holtzman have dictated strategy for 30 or 40 years. It's amazing.
Jerome Holtzman, may he rest in peace, had good intentions in creating the rule. He wanted closers to be recognized for the performances that they had.
Right.
And it was then taken by managers and baseball people to the point where they were so strictly adhering to the save rule that they lost their way.
Right, no question. Now, here's the Yankees, for example. They have Andrew Miller, they have Dellin Betances. Both of them just get outs and strikeouts at alarming rates. Neither one is proven closer, I must work the 9th. So do the Yankees have an opportunity to have a new age bullpen of matchups and maximum efficiency?
They do have that opportunity, but I don't believe that's the way they're going to go. What they've said publicly is that Betances will be the 9th inning guy, Miller sometime before that. They could do just what you're saying. But again, and we've had this argument before, relievers like roles. They like to know what they're going to be doing. I know you're saying just do your job, report like a robot. That's not how they think.
Wait till one of those guys blows 2 saves in a row.
Yeah, we're going to get him out.
Eighth or ninth
if a guy's
inning.
struggling, get him out.
But that's what I'm saying. Then the role is going to be defined.
Jody, you're in my demographic, right? In the 70s, Tug McGraw came in and got
Don't
outs.
insult
Guys
Jody.
worked 100. No, I'm sorry. Guys get like 110 innings. They work all these innings. They work the game. Goose Gottschalk would come in the 7th and finish the game. You don't have to be sitting out there waiting for your role. Your role is to get outs.
I am with you as a historian, and I always believe, here's the ball, get 3 outs. 6 things. If you don't look at the scoreboard. We'll put a blinder on so you can't see what inning it. What's the difference? Just get 3 outs. That's the way it should be. Every reliever I talk to, Kenny's exactly right. They all talk about their roles. They're so mindset. They're so focused. The 7th inning is different than the 8th inning. The 8th inning with no outs is different than the 8th inning with 2 outs. And then comes the all-important 9th inning. You and I see it as just get outs. They see it as, you got to fit me into my role. I want to know my role. Don't ask me to do anything but my role.
They've been brainwashed by these guys.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
That's what's been
I'm
happening.
not managing teams. No sports writer alive has been a manager, okay? The managers put them in those roles, and the way the game has evolved, they've gotten comfortable, players have, in certain set specific roles. Now, if you want to break that down, like the Red Sox tried that one year, remember with Folk and the whole deal? Mm-hmm. Okay, good luck to you, because it's going to be a tough sell in your own clubhouse.
Well, that's it. The sell is ridiculous. You know what it is? It's managers' avoidance of blame. Because if you actually have to apply pitchers in the right roles, there's a wide variance of decisions. If you're like, well, he's my 8th inning guy, that's why I went to him, and he gave up a home run. What am I going to do? It gets a manager off the hook, doesn't it?
That's true. And you can always resort to, this is the way we've done it all year, the way Matt Williams did in the playoffs, saying, hey, we bring in Storin for Jordan Zimmerman.
Always bring it back to that.
Well, that was
that was a good
most
move.
glaring decisions of fault.
I'm with you, BK, on that a little. It is a cop-out to answer questions afterwards to a certain degree. However, baseball, it's a mental game. I know you don't want to believe it, but it's such a mental game. There are guys that can do well in the 7th that cannot do it in the 9th.
That's been disproven. I mean, there's a few guys who do choke. There's a few chokers out there. There's not many. I mean, I could give you one example after another from, Greg Holland on down, guys who are in the 7th and 8th inning, and then they can't do it into the 9th. Until you give them ownership of the 9th, and they'll eventually be who they are.
Not in the same market. You take a guy from Tampa Bay and throw him in New York, and it's a whole different beast.